twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a reading rainbow.
Hello all, this is the Owl, and today we'll be doing Bibliomania.
Oh, that really trippy one with Moses and Jesus traveling around doing stuff?
No, it's Buddha, I think. Biblemania?
Huh? There's literally no manga called Bibliomania.
Wait, what? There isn't? Then what the hell was I thinking of? Oh. So yeah, when our recent quiz winner selected this one, I declined because I thought it was something else. But I was still curious because mark my words when I say that this might be in the 3 most requested manga on this channel, and after reading it, yeah, I can see why. This one is a hidden diamond. And yet, it really has been somewhat difficult to write a script about, because both the manga and the mangaka are something of an enigma. And I mean that quite literally. Penned by Machiro Obaru, although some sites list this as Orval or Oval, and I can't find anything on this individual, aside from the fact that this manga seems to be their only work. And they were nominated for an award because of it, which, yeah, I can see it. It's also one hell of a weird manga, almost to the point where I might suspect that Machiro is a pseudonym, and this was written by a Westerner, as it's not read right to left, and rather left to right, like your average issue of Batman, and also consists of 12 double-length chapters. If that doesn't make you go, huh? It's also just incredibly odd. Yeah, it's been a while since we did something even more surreal than Gyo, and this one is very firmly rooted in metaphor. No, wait, don't go. Yeah, I generally hate abstract stuff too, but there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. For instance, the hanging balloons is abstract as all hell, but is still a very memorable and well-regarded Junji Ito story. A good abstract story, especially a horror story, doesn't really lean into the plot all that hard. Instead, it's a walking tour of nightmarish imagery, bizarre scenarios, and creepy environments, and in this, Bibliomania delivers and then some. Seriously, reading this thing is like, I don't know, having your brain scrubbed out with LSD mixed with H.R. Geiger's ashes, using a heavy metal album cover as a brush. Intrigued yet? Good. Let's get started. We open in a futuristic-looking city where something huge and terrible is chasing people down and doing something to them. And right off the bat, you'll note that the art is interesting. On one hand, it's almost amateurish. Lines are rough, shapes and forms are inconsistent, and sometimes the perspective seems to be going in multiple directions at once. At this point, I would say that it reminds me most of Hoseki no Kuni, which is another highly requested manga that I am struggling to get through, as well as a certain wanga that I covered a bit back and wished I hadn't. No, don't worry, this one is both a bit easier to follow than Vitiator's, and a million times less disgusting. Weirdly enough, I almost suspect that the art early on is deliberately off because, oh boy, does it get better fast. And the various metaphors and the like in the manga are so deliberate that, yeah, again, it wouldn't surprise me if the author is doing this deliberately. And this is the other thing you want to do if you're going to tell an abstract story. Make sure to know what you are doing and what you are talking about before you put pen to paper, and keep your story focused, even if you're going to be very metaphorical. Bibliomania does this bloody well too, to the point that a big thicky dum-dum with infant-induced sleep deprivation like me can mostly puzzle it out. Although, yet again, this isn't a manga that's really about telling a story. It's all about the mood, the tone, and the imagery. Anyway, after the city sequence, we're brought to our title page, a post-apocalyptic landscape where it seems that whatever cataclysm was happening has basically destroyed everything. Aside from a lot of biblical symbolism and strangeness, it's a little difficult to figure out where this manga is going initially. But I wouldn't worry, because our main story starts out soon enough, and what's going on will make sense at some point. A girl called Alice, and yes, I think this is exactly what you're thinking, wakes up in a strange white room. The number 431 is somehow etched onto her hand, and an ornate door stands ready with the number 430. As Alice is about to open it, she's confronted by, what the hell is that? A sort of skeletal serpentine being wearing a dapper suit, claiming that she's in his manor and gives his name as Serpent. He tells her that there is going to be a banquet of some kind, and that it'll take a bit to get ready. But until then, so long as she remains in this room, all of her wishes and fantasies will come true. And he proceeds to barf up a bunch of occult symbols. This next bit is kind of hard to follow, but again, this will make sense later. We cut between Alice walking through the ruined world we saw at the start of the manga. Oh, there's a doll with a butterfly on it, remember that, while also walking around the Serpent's manor, eating huge quantities of food she wishes into existence. But Alice soon finds that, despite wanting to explore, she cannot leave the room. As soon as she tries, her flesh begins to painfully transmute into the same food that she wished for, which causes Serpent to freak out and tell her that her body is now a part of the manor, and that going from room to room will cause your body to rot, which, spoiler, is all sorts of awesome. A sort of surreal, abstract corruption of form that starts off weird and ends up tripping holy orb piercer testicles by the end. Seriously, this is frigging Skibidi Toilet levels of strange. Why is that a thing? We get a few more biblical references, and after Alice makes her desire to leave the manor known, the Serpent attempts to dissuade her and distract her, but when she persists, eventually tells her that, yeah, it's possible, but she would have to reach room 000 before her body rots away. And so, Alice embarks on her journey. And yeah, there is also a lot of Lewis Carroll here. You know, if Lewis Carroll was intensely Japanese, but still did all the drugs in the known universe while reading the Book of Revelations. Don't believe me? Oh, you'll see. As Alice makes her way along, we get to a bizarre and disturbing room, or rather, realm, seemingly based on the Buddhist afterlife, centered around a gigantic clockwork analog of King Yama. And no, I'm not going to discuss every single bit of clever symbolism here, or else this video would be hundreds of hours long. Anyway, this thing seems to be judging the souls of dead sinners, but we quickly learn that this is all a wish created by a bullied high schooler that topped himself, where he gets to punish effigies of his bully and his classmates in horrific ways forever. Again, I wouldn't worry too much about plot here. The sheer imagination on display is bloody brilliant. Like, look at this shit. The next room, created by someone who wanted to become a bird. That's just, man, that's awesome. We proceed from room to room, with Serpent playing a sort of Cheshire cat role, keeping Alice moving. As we go, her hand, then her entire arm, becomes more and more twisted and corrupted, which causes her a great deal of pain, but she does push forward. We do get a bit more overt symbolism when we reach this room, as the occupant has turned it all into a perpetual video game, and the monsters continue to tell him to get a job, get married, etc. Which, yeah, while I do like the symbolism in this manga, it's not exactly subtle sometimes. Eventually, we reach room 285 and Alice's body is now doing all sorts of weird things, including, wait, what? Has her head grown an actual wolf? Yes, Oruboru, or quite possibly Orville. Drugs, all the drugs. And this is all, by the way, interspersed with scenes from Alice in the real world, and how she arrived in the Serpent's Manor via a door-like book. Oh right, every room is a page in this book, and it feels like my brain is about to jump out of my head and go barking around like a little yap dog. What the hell is going on? But yeah, especially once a now almost fully corrupted Alice is saved by a, let me just get this out, a team of cloned mad scientists drawn like a Saturday morning cartoon strip who've developed a drug to resist the rot and are researching the book or something. It's hard to tell. They inform Alice that should the book fill up to page 666, yeah, get it? With people tempted by the serpent, it'll basically turn him into Cthulhu. The scientists also tell her that it is utterly impossible to reach page 0 because the rot, corruption, desire poison, or whatever the hell this is, becomes so strong in the final 100 pages that any room transition will instantly inflict a lethal level of corruption. Well, at least it's not making you bleed out of your eyes. Oh, and did I mention how frigging incredible the designs are? Because this is where they start getting really good. And the crazy train continues to pick up steam until the very end because damn it is this cool. Definitely one of those stories where you have no idea what's going on sometimes, but you're having too much fun to really care. And believe me, I am skipping a lot of this. Remember, these aren't deep dives. Go and track this manga down yourself. It's the lighthouse of horror manga. The story continues at a pretty decent clip, with Alice making her way through all kinds of bizarre, macabre, and at times legitimately scary worlds. And she does make it as far as page 99, now fully corrupted, before collapsing, assumedly dying, and beginning to crumble, much to the serpent's delight. Only this happens. And yes, we just completely changed art styles for one panel. This manga, man. And Alice, despite dying repeatedly, barrels through the remaining pages and pops out of room 0, shedding corruption behind her, and is apparently unharmed, right before the Manor fills all the way to 666, and the Serpent transforms into whatever the hell nightmares this thing is, devours everyone in the book, and flows out of it as, I don't know, Super Cthulhu, but likely because nobody could draw that thing for multiple panels, we instead get a 4-armed kaiju-sized serpent who quickly realizes that the world it has escaped into is the empty, desolate, post-apocalyptic world we saw at the start. Alice shows up and we get, I guess, kind of a reveal as to what's going on. She was a terminally ill child who would read books as a form of escapism, but just so happened to have a perfect eidetic memory, causing her to read and absorb entire libraries of information, which, yes, is where the title Bibliomania comes from, and yes, any Terry Pratchett fans are remembering Small Gods. Eventually, for some reason, she, or quite possibly just the government of her country twisting her arm, decided to use her mind and its contents to make the ultimate book, the Book of Truth, which caused her to mutate into this thing and cause the apocalypse, absorbing everyone and turning them into data, which is why the world is all destroyed and there's nobody left. And that's not even the end of the manga. I am not going to try and describe the final act, except that it's a perfect balance of the utterly insane, horrible, and strikingly beautiful. Again, I want people to go and read this thing for themselves because, once again, you don't need to worry too much about the plot, but you'll get to enjoy some of the best visuals I have seen in any manga to date, like this one, or this one. So yeah, I think I can understand why Bibliomania, despite being obscure, made such an impression on those who've read it. Or at least why I get someone asking for a video on it every few weeks. It is one hell of a ride. The story is, again, an afterthought. It's about as important as the story of Alice in Wonderland. What matters here is the mood, the tone, the weird crap Alice runs into along the way, and of course the visuals, which range from gorgeous to horrific to metal as all hell. At the end of the day, well done. You have earned a convert, Bibliomania, and I hope that whoever your author is makes more manga. This is the holy mountain of horror manga, and if you got that reference, you'll enjoy this one. Obscure, surreal, utterly unforgettable, and even as someone that usually hates abstract stuff, you might just find that you have a good time. At least once you get past the opening section, which is this manga's only weakness. And I think let's end it there. Before we finish for the day, I want to give a huge thanks, as always, to my fantastic patrons. Jake Reagan, Piece of Yeast, Elspresso, Question Man 6, Cheerful Satanist, Starwin Marwin, Cal Core, Jacob Ramsey, Crazy, James Bakes Bread, Wargle, Opinion Custard, Lance Goebel, Paul Norberger, Rafferty, Erin Arnold, The Hedgehog Gamer, Simone, XTC Pill, B Empress, Jake, and Cheshire Quill. If you want to see more like this, why not stick around? subscribe, bell, you know the drill. If you want to hear me say your name, get early access to most of my videos, have some fun perks on the Discord, and, help Mrs. Owl and I out and buy Baby Owl the necessaries to ensure that I can keep on doing what I do into 2024, why not stop by our Patreon? If you want to chit-chat about, well, basically anything, drop by our Twitch. We generally stream on Friday and Sunday afternoons, or come and say hi on our Discord. Take care, my friends, and cheers. This is the Owl, signing off.